I'm Kevin Casey. I'm a professional mixed martial arts fighter. And right now, what I'm about to do is issue a warning out to all other competitors.
I don't want overs. I just expect them to happen.
Fatty's gonna fatty is real.
Oh, give me fucking truth, baby! Come on! Let's go!
How have I been successful in life?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the MMA Analysis Podcast. We've got an event coming up. There are names that I recognize on said event, but that usually means these days that there's a bunch of old guys on the card, which is absolutely true of this one. We'll see though. At least there's some stakes to it, which can't be said for last weekend so much. We'll get to that very, very briefly, because Shaun and I did not spend a whole lot of our weekends watching that event, nor have we spent the past couple days catching up on it. It's also Thursday at this point. Like, who cares? If you've thought about that card since Monday, then you're thinking too much about MMA. I promise you. Shaun, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm recovering from the sickness. I'm Lance, circa, I don't know, what was that, like 2016, 2017, something like that?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, 2015, something like that. And just basically sick every 2 or 3 weeks. So that's enjoyable. Didn't watch barely any of UFC on Saturday. Was busy getting the house ready for my daughter's first birthday, so that was a little more important than a card headlined by Paredes versus Magny. So
2024 Magomedov. I mean, doesn't get much bigger than that. Come on, what are you doing here, kids?
Yeah, he hung on for a while. The old Magny. Every once in a while, I mean, he got the Canadian. He got the Canadian couple fights ago. It's just he just doesn't have the durability against the good welterweights.
No, sir. And seems like Paredes might be a good welterweight. He definitely hits hard. We know that for sure. Beyond that, who really knows?
Nobody does, because nobody really lasts very long with him. So we haven't really figured it out against anybody with a pulse. So yeah, he's fun. I mean, in this day and age, with what the genericness of 90% of the roster, a guy who rips darts and knocks fools out real quick. You gotta enjoy those guys, even if they may be a flawed fighter. So we'll take what we get.
Absolutely. The only other notable fight on the card was what ended up being the co-main event. I think it was originally on the prelims, wasn't it? And then it got bumped up.
It was
something got canceled.
I think it was third from the top before Ricky Tercios and Bernardo Sopage was canceled, because that was the original main event, of course.
Ridiculous.
Yes.
Ridiculous. Anyway, Renier Derride, or however it's pronounced. Third round sub over the old Meerkat. This is kind of par for the course. Meerkat is one of those dudes that he can very much be out-grappled by the top grapplers in the division. We know he gets smoked by the top strikers in the division, and he has generally fun fights no matter which way they're going. So that's why we love dudes like Meerkat. But just didn't have the grappling to keep up with RDR.
To his credit, he put up a better fight than I expected. I parlayed De Ridder. I thought he was just going to be the better grappler the whole time and be able to kind of not make easy work, but definitely dominate for the most part. And yeah, I don't know if De Ridder kind of gassed there or just took a round off. It wasn't. It seemed like it was tight. 1-1 going into the third, and then Meerkat kind of fell apart, and that's not too surprising. We've kind of seen that sometimes, but it was a good test for DeRitter. I think I might have to recalibrate what I thought of him. I just thought this was a super good stylistic matchup for him, and it turned out to be a little bit tougher than expected, even with him getting a finish. So,
was this his? Well, it was obviously his first fight in the UFC, but was it his first fight in North America as well?
That might be. Yeah, because
I think that might be the case.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Just because of kind of his organizations he's fought for. So
yeah,
that
could account for
maybe we cut him some slack. UFC debut, may or may not have ever fought in North America, so maybe cut him some slack. We'll see what he looks like next time. But yeah, that's about it.
Obviously, some talent there.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's got some skills. It's just whether the matchup he gets, whether he can implement those skills that he has.
Yep. The rest of the card, I'm not even going to bother reading the results because none of them matter except for my boy Duska Toad's daddy. He fell on some hard times, as you know.
My favorite thing is we finally got finishes, and we got 5 KOs. If you can, like, obviously if you count the main event, and then UFC is like, actually, we're just getting rid of the new gloves because they suck and they don't induce enough. They finally got some knockouts, and then they're still just like, nah, we're getting rid of those things. So that's quite interesting. You know, the Paul Shag was kind of on the train that. The new gloves were definitely contributing to some overs and, you know, guys not getting finished. And
yeah,
I mean, it was a small-ish sample size, but the data we have definitely seems to kind of flush that out. And now we're back to the old gloves, so maybe we'll go back to seeing a couple more knockouts.
Yeah, if you hadn't have told me that they were using different gloves, like just from watching the way fights played out, obviously aside from the streak at the start where, 20 fights in a row or whatever, there was no knockouts in. But it didn't seem like they really did that much to prevent eye pokes. Didn't seem like they changed anything in the actual fight except seemingly resulting in fewer knockouts. So good riddance. See you never. And I mean, what a better time to switch away from them than the eye poke goat, John Jones. I think John Jones has definitely surpassed Chuck Liddell of the Hawaiian Kempo eye poke fame as the greatest eye poker in MMA history. Would you agree with that assessment?
He's elite. He's top of the food chain. I know Weidman's trying to come for that title, but I think it's a little late. Jones has been doing this over a solid career. He's just trying to catch up late, and with how much his body falls apart, I don't think he's going to have enough time to catch him. So we do have a couple of eye poke greats on this UFC 309 card. So here's hoping.
Also, there is a very real chance that I am going to want to gouge my own eyes out watching this event, because I imagine it's going to be like Dana just on his knees going full hog for Trump the whole time. I imagine Trump's going to be he's allowed in New York, right?
Oh, he's coming. He's going to be there Saturday.
Yeah, he's probably going to get more camera time than some of the fighters. So
he's going to have the Khabib camera from, I forget, I think that was Bellator or some shit. They put Bellator, the number Madoff that's the champ in Bellator was fighting, and Khabib was in his corner. So they just straight up put an ISO camera on fucking Khabib. They're going to do that for Trump.
Jesus.
So that all of his followers can just absolutely beat it while watching some UFC fights.
There you go. I mean, if it wasn't gay enough that they were watching dudes in their underwear, the homosexual skinhead fighting, as Bob Arum famously coined it, then just have the little Trump fest. Maybe they'll play YMCA and he can do his
Double fisted, baby.
Yeah. Anyway, that's I am not looking forward to that part of this event. There are a couple things that I'm looking forward to. Obviously, Do Bronx back gets to sacrifice Michael Chandler. It would be awesome if I wish there were more blatant. I mean, everyone in the UFC is kind of right wing chuddish for the most part, but like the guy that was on the card, Buffalo Chuck, that was on the card last weekend, like watching him be on this card and get smoked would be glorious. We'll have to maybe see it for I don't know, Weidman, Chandler. We'll have to make do with those guys. But we're going to break down this card. Enough rambling from us. We got 13 fights. We are kicking it off in the women's flyweight division. Veronica Hardy, Eduarda Moura, just starting it off with a bang.
Yeah, this card wasn't strong enough as it is. We gotta I mean, to be fair, at least they're getting away early. They're not putting it, the second or third fight where you're kind of watching already with some openers that are somewhat decent. They're getting it out of the way. So I mean, it's up to you whether you tune in 30 minutes later. Probably what I'm gonna do. I don't have much here. More smashed a terrible fighter in her UFC debut, and then lost to Gomes, and I guess a close one. But I don't know. She probably get some takedowns. She might be a little bit of a better grappler. It's low-level women's fights. I think you pick the dog and just don't watch.
Yeah, probably. If I was still seriously betting MMA, I would probably raise an eyebrow at the fact that Veronica Hardy is a favorite. But she did disappear for 3 years and probably did a whole bunch of steroids and now is back and has won 3 fights in a row after being absolutely terrible early in her career. So something obviously changed, maybe, taking training a little bit more seriously. So I am not willing to touch this fight with a 10-foot pole. Welterweight division, Oban Elliott taking on Basil Half-Ass.
Quite funny that Half-Ass is second fight on the card, and the guy that he just beat last time is third on the card. Gotta love that fight. Yeah, it doesn't matter. The UFC has no idea what they're doing. I mean, they're putting Ricky Turcios in a co-main event in 2024. So kind of a waste of time. But yeah, the line seems... I know there's some hype on Oban Elliott. He's done what he's, I guess, had to do in the UFC so far, but hasn't got anybody out of there. The guys who have fought are pretty weak. I don't think Basil Half-Ass is very good at all, but he showed well against JDM. He beat Mickey Gall. This number seems wide. I know favorites are hitting at an obscene rate right now, so Elliott probably wins a closest decision, and you're like, he probably shouldn't have been minus 280, but he's going to win anyway. So that's probably what happens. If I really gave a shit, I would probably sprinkle on Half-Ass.
Yeah, I would kind of think the same. Usually when Elliott loses, it's getting clipped, and Half-Ass seems like he throws hard, but doesn't really seem like he hits hard. So that's probably not too much of a path for him here. He's the guy that has a bunch of guillotine wins or something, right? Or is that no? That's somebody else I'm thinking of. Anyway, he's gonna need to rely on the grappling. Do you think that Oban Elliott is like a gangster in the sense that Chael Sonnen is the Westlin gangster? You know, in that like he just goes to decision with everybody.
Very facetious. Yeah, this seems like right up there. Yeah.
Anyway, probably another decision for him here, but it does feel a bit wide, and I'm always leery of the UK prospects because they just they're like us Canadians used to be. They just get way too hyped up about everybody and inflate the prices. Sticking in the welterweight division, that aforementioned guy that Basil Half-Ass just beat, Mickey Gall, he's going to turn it around. You know, he's lost 3 in a row, 4 of his last 5. But now is Mickey Gall's time because he's taking on Ramiz Brahimaj.
It's kind of wild that Mickey Gall is still on the roster, losing as much as he has, as you mentioned there. This is just an absolute flake fest of a fight. Both these guys are grapplers that have terrible takedowns and don't have good takedown defense. So I kind of have no clue what's going to happen. Or is it going to cancel out with both of them just being shitty wrestlers? And we're going to have a kickboxing fight, which is probably going to be just absolutely putrid to watch. I wouldn't have money on either of these guys. I'd probably pick Brahimaj, but it's a flake fest. This could be just dumb.
Yeah, this is another one. Like, again, just thinking about the fighters and the fight. Why is Mickey Gall still favored in the UFC at this point?
Wild.
Don't fully understand that. So I'm kind of tempted on Brahimaj just from that perspective alone. I have tried to back him with some success and less success at other times earlier in his UFC career, but he's just, if he doesn't get that round 1 sub, then doesn't seem like he's got a whole lot going for him. So probably staying away. If I get kidnapped during the 3rd fight of the prelims and I need to make a bet to save my life, I'd be going Brahimaj. Heavyweight division, Marcin Tybura taking on Jonata Deniz. This is the guy that fought like relatively recently. No, didn't he? He was supposed to fight Black Beast.
Supposed to fight in Edmonton against the Black Beast, and then the Black Beast had a tummy ache, and so then they snapped him up and put him on 309.
He just found out how much tax he would have to pay if he fought in Canada.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, New York's not much better, to be fair. Tybura, he does have a tendency every once in a while that he just gets absolutely smoked. I know last time out against Spivak, it was kind of the takedown and get smoked that way, but kind of every other time, it's Aspinall just smoking him. I guess he did go to decision against Volkov when he lost, but Sakai put him out there quick. Mm-hmm. Black Beast took his time, but he definitely can be susceptible to just getting smoked. And that is a concern against this guy who's a supposed, good kickboxer. I don't know if that's really going to translate too much to the UFC. I know he has, a couple wins here and there, and he did fight a grappler last time out where Carl Williams didn't really push the grappling, which I don't know if, somebody got in his ear and was like, we're going to cut you even if you win, if you keep grappling, or what was going on there. But Tybura is the vet. He's obviously been there with much better guys and beat much, much better guys. He could get absolutely smoked. It is possible, but generally speaking, if he doesn't just get smoked there, I think he's going to grind on this guy, maybe get a takedown or two, and kind of win either a decision or kind of a late finish. It's shitty heavyweights, so it's very dumb to do this, but I'm very tempted at laying the juice on Tybura and just praying he doesn't just get smoked in 30 seconds.
I don't hate it, honestly. Of all of the stuff that we've talked about so far, that would be one of the more likely that I'm looking to bet at this point. Probably something like Tybura and over 1.5 if you've got a book that does that sort of stuff. I think that's going to give you a significantly better price. But yeah, I was worried about him. Like, this is what, 5 years ago now, when he had that run where he got knocked out by Black Beast, Sharif Abdul-Rahim, and who is the third one? You mentioned him already.
Well, he got smoked by yeah.
But yeah, I think he's past that. He's in that phase of his career where he like grew the second chin, like Arlovsky did after he got slept a bunch of times. So, I mean, when it comes to actual skills, he's so much better. He might even be like, it's not as dangerous as a striker, but in terms of volume and using striking in an MMA context, he might even be the more effective striker in this fight too. So yeah, I quite like Tybura here. I think he probably goes to his grappling, and we really haven't seen anything to suggest that Deniz knows his ass from a hole in the ground on the mat. So I'm willing to pay a little bit of juice to take that chance. Moving on to the featherweight division, we've got Roberto taking on David Onama.
I don't have much here. I don't really know too much about old Roberto. David Onama was supposed to fight Lucas Almeida. So I guess that would have been a somewhat fun fight. Onama's pretty good. So he probably should get this guy out of there. Roberto hasn't. I don't think he's anything too special on the regional scene. Fighting pretty weak competition, but yeah, I don't have too much. Onama should get him out of there.
I agree. I don't really have much to say about this one because never seen Roberto fight. I don't even know what his nickname means. It's obviously the Black something, but I don't know what the something is. Charo? Isn't that weird, like, Hachi lady with all the lip filler? You know who I'm talking about? Charo?
There's a cartoon called Charo Negro. I don't. Yeah, there you go.
And anyways, that's all I've got for old Roberto. Dan, nice to see you in here. Very true that Lance not showing up for a Do Bronx fight is a sad state of affairs for the UFC. And like, it's not even just Do Bronx. We got Bear Jew on here as well. Like, this combo. This is built for Lance Fishel, and he's probably not even gonna watch. Does he watch fights still? Sometimes.
He's been that East Coast, man. That East Coast will get you.
It does make it tough. Anyways, we're gonna keep it moving. Hey, we know these guys.
Yes.
Lightweights. Friend of the MMA analysis. And this is where you're lucky that Lance didn't show up, because if he did, then you'd have to hear about the time that he ran into Jim Miller in the Walgreens and the handshake, and you have to hear that whole thing. You don't have to hear that with us. So he's taking on Damon Jackson. That seems like it should be fun.
Lance has got to play the hits. That's what he does. Yeah, it should be fun. You know, we talked about some flakes in the Brahimaj Mickey Gall fight. these guys are kind of flaky too at this point in their careers. Hard to say what Jim Miller's going to look like after that absolutely hellacious beating he took from Bobby Green. Damon Jackson's kind of just a frustrating guy where like he has these like moments where he probably wins when he shouldn't. But then he's kind of getting smoked by who he probably should. I just don't know if at this point he's supposed to beat Jim Miller or not. I think he is. But who knows? Like this could be, some fun, weird grappling. If it's on the feet, I think Jim Miller probably has a little bit of an edge. So it's a weird fight. I'll pick Damon Jackson, but the confidence in that is pretty low.
The last fight is worrying, but I'm going with old Jimmy Miller here. I think that you've got Jackson coming back up from featherweight. So even though he's probably a little bit taller, I don't think he's going to be any actual bigger than Miller in here. I think if anyone's going to finish the fight on the feet, it's going to be Jim Miller. And I'm trying to see, like, maybe Jackson can get a couple of rounds of top control. It's not really his style. He's too aggressive. He'll lose position going for a sub. But maybe he can get a couple of rounds of control here and win a decision. But I just think it's going to be a whole lot more difficult for him to get Jim Miller out of there than the other way around. So I'm going to take some Jimmy Miller here and roll with one of the dogs. Middleweight division. Speaking of a guy that once had to roll out of the cage, Chris Weidman taking on Eric Anders.
More flakes, injuries or otherwise. I really want to fade Chris Weidman. I think he is as washed as we think he is. I know he was able to eye poke his way to a technical decision last time out. Anders is gonna have to be ready for that, but his body is just done. All that wrestling he did, and then the wars that he took, and I just think naturally he's a band-aid of a guy. Even
always
kind of before.
That's why he only
always
had,
has been. Even before
9 fights
he had
when he was fighting for the title.
Yeah. Even before he got that beat down from Rockhold, he was pulling out of some fights, having some neck issues, having some other issues. So like this guy is a band-aid through and through. It's just Eric Anders it's tough to trust that guy. Couldn't get Jamie Pickett out of there last time. He's got some losses to, not great, but not horrible middleweights in Barriou, Park. So it's a tough one. I'm gonna obviously pick Anders. I was kind of looking at Anders by finish, but like this guy doesn't really finish guys in the UFC. He got some finishes before that, but it's gonna be tough.
It's more of a like Weidman finishes himself than Anders gets finish.
It's gonna be his body falling apart, whether that's from like a leg kick or I don't know, throwing a hard punch and popping his shoulder out. I think he's going to need some help and to get there. But it's hard to trust that. So another pass, but a pick on Anders.
Yeah, I think there's just physical edges for like Anders isn't young. He's not super healthy, but I just think that he's in much better condition at this point than Weidman is. It is like still a 3 or 4 year age difference in here, even though Anders has been around forever. But yeah, just like Weidman doesn't look. Now I'm talking myself through it, and I can absolutely see how Weidman's going to win the fight because I'm like, Weidman doesn't look good against guys who do things. It's like, oh wait, he's fighting Eric Anders. Eric Anders, yeah, he'll sit there in the clinch and Weidman will throw 3 knees and he'll end up winning the round because they're in New York. So, yeah, I think this is just a stay away because it could flake out in so many possible ways. I don't know. Maybe the under. Somebody just dies.
We can hope.
Yeah. Moving on. Bantamweight division. Jonathan Martinez, Marcus McGee. Hey, we're almost at the main card.
Yeah. Lucky us. Yeah, like Marcus McGee's getting a little bit of hype, which is, I don't know, it's kind of weird. I mean, he's 34 years old. In the bantamweight division, never a good sign. But Martinez has fought obviously the much better fighters, has some wins over some okay fighters. I truly think that Martinez can easily win most fights by just kicking, and he's done it a lot. Those, you can fucking hate him all you want, but those calf kicks will absolutely change a fight, and that's what I'm thinking we're going to see here. Martinez is going to go back to the leg kicks. Couldn't really do it against Aldo because obviously Aldo knows how to check a kick. But 99% of these fighters don't. Marcus McGee is I think going to get his legs chewed up, and Martinez is going to win probably a decision. So he's a dog. I think he's like plus 122, plus 125 at Pinnacle. I'll be playing Martinez.
Yeah, I just don't understand. I think we were all on Aldo in the Martinez fight, but I don't understand what has changed about Martinez or people's perception of him, that he goes from favored against Jose Aldo to an underdog against Grandpa McGee. That doesn't really add up for me. Obviously, one of the reasons people liked Aldo in that fight is because he was going to be able to take away the leg kicks. So he did that. Most guys can't do that, as Shaun said. And I think we're just going to see Martinez go back to the guy who was, kicking the shit out of Adrian Yanez and got a gift of a decision against Nurmagomedov, but was more competitive against him than most guys are. And, beating up Cub Swanson's corpse isn't really anything to write home about in 2022. So, but anyways, he's been fighting better guys. He's been beating better guys. And I don't get it. So Jonathan Martinez, consensus bet of the week. Plus 125.
5. Yeah.
Beauty. Let's do it. Main card now. And let's kick it off with some people that everybody knows. Mauricio Huffy and James Yontop.
Yeah, Roofy's fun. Supposedly it's been a struggle. Well, no, but I'm going to call him Roofy. I mean, it's Brazil, so yeah, I'm sure you pronounce it right, Huffy.
You think he likes the glue? Like that's Huffy?
I mean, he is a fighter, so let's not give him too much credit. Yeah, it seems like he's having a tough time fighting or getting matched up. Nobody wants to fight him. He was supposed to fight Campbell, and Campbell pulled out, and they were all able to find a live body in James Lontop. So yeah, I mean, it should be fun. I think Roofy, obviously, look at the odds. Roofy should style on him and win. Curious that the over. I guess it's changed a bit, but over 2.5 is like plus 130. Over one, like it should be a brawl. It probably lands in between the over and the under, so it's probably like over 1.5 and under 1 or under 2.5.
Under 2, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's tough to play that. I think you should just probably sit back and enjoy this one.
Yeah, has Deonta, I know he's got a couple losses, but I don't think
He
he's
has never been
stopped.
finished by strikes.
Strikes, yeah.
So that's
and Roofy Huffy is all knockouts. So something's got to give in this one, folks. Well, I guess not. I mean,
good decision.
Both
I
those
guess
could remain true. But yeah, I don't really have an opinion. I think obviously Huffy is minus 1,000 favorite for a reason. So we probably don't need to dive too deep into that one. And we can keep it moving. It's also at a catch weight of 165. Is that? Because it's late notice.
Late notice, John Top is going to miss weight. So I guess they just decided to make
oh my God, this guy's going to get killed. He's fat at 155.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Gonna be some softness in the cage in that one.
Maybe what's like Huffy round 1?
Just disposable.
Only plus 200.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, him inside is minus 185. It's kind of his path.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, well, sorry. Too much time there. Too much time. Not going to spend a ton of time on this one, probably. Women's flyweight division, future champ Karine Silva taking on future champ Viviane Araujo.
That was a thing at a time, but it's been a while. I thought they might give Karine Silva a little bit more of a step up. She's 4-0 in the UFC, has finishes in 3 of the 4 fights. But, you know, Araujo is still a good test. Doesn't get finished, really. And it's probably a good test for her. This is probably a closer fight than what the line says, but I think Silva will be able to get some takedowns and get some top control. I just don't think she finishes. So I kind of like the over in a parlay. The over 2.5 is like minus 260. The women's overs are a bit tough these days. Either they're ballooned to like minus 500, or you play one at minus 230. Somehow there's a finish. So I mean, that's my experience anyway. I used to be the king of the women's overs, and trying to dip my toe back in. So hopefully it doesn't fail me on Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page where I think this is a little wide. I think this is actually a pretty significant step up for Silva. Like Lipsky can't grapple even a little bit, and I think that Araujo would beat her in a striking match as well. So I think she's moving in the direction that she should be. But like, I don't know. I guess Araujo's old at this point, late 30s. Seems to be losing to fighters that I wouldn't have anticipated her lose to a while ago. So yeah, this is probably right. We can move it along to the good shit now. Or at least the weird stuff. Middleweight division, Bo Nickel, Craig Berju. Do you think this fight just like broke Lance's brain, and that's why he can't do the podcast anymore?
I mean, I think this is one of the reasons he's not on the podcast. I think I remember when this was announced, and he was like, "This is very annoying, and I'm gonna be sad." Yeah, I think this is a tough matchup for the Berju. If you want to throw a dart, you know what Paul Craig's path to victory is. It's a sub. I don't think there's any other way of it happening. There's some wild numbers out there. Plus 1,600, plus 1,500. I think a friend of the MMA analysis, Aussie Fight Fan, was on that or pointing that out earlier in the week. It's worth a dart, I guess, if that's what you want. I think I'm just gonna stay away. It's tough to find a good side. Anything, a prop, anything in this fight. Nickel, the under is minus 170. Like, that's tough to play under 1.5 with that much juice. Bo Nickel by TKO is like minus 140. If you don't mind laying the juice, it's just there is some concerns that eventually Bo does take this down, or if he rocks him, he just snatches something up. I guess it'll be a little interesting because for the most part, Bo goes for takedowns, and is he going to do that here? I think if he's smart, he doesn't. He has shown a little bit of striking before he was in the UFC and in a couple of these fights, but I think if he takes it down, it's a bit sketchier. So it'll be interesting to see what Bo decides and how it goes. But I think either way, he's going to get a finish there, and it's probably comes pretty quickly.
No, sir. We've
okay.
seen this
My
story before. We know
Have we?
what's going to happen. Bo's going to get in there. I think this is probably the tallest guy that he fought Pickett, who's like about the same size as Bear Jew. But you saw when he fought Pickett, immediately shot. He's jumping right into the bear trap. See, I think the Bear Jew could snatch up the sub early or survive the onslaught through the first round. Bo gasses out. And then Bear Jew, not unlike the who was the other guy that he fought that was supposed to be able to grapple the shit out of him?
Oh, Bear Jew?
Yeah. Muniz, right?
Yeah.
When he beat the piss out of him in the second round for a TKO. So you're looking Bear Jew round 1 sub at 3,500 or Bear Jew round 2 TKO at 8,000.
There it is.
That's how we're playing.
There it is.
Yep. Moving on to the lightweight division. Michael Chandler taking on the former champion, the future champion, but like not sarcastically, but probably sarcastically at this point. Do Bronx, he's back. The most fun fighter in MMA over the past at least decade.
Yeah, him and Gaethje. Gaethje kind of gives him a run for his money, but
That's
he's both in the lightweight division, so it's quite fun.
Do Bronx kicked his ass, so
exactly. So we found out who. Yeah. Yeah, this should be fun. Like you said, like all Do Bronx fights. It is a little bit. It's tough to lay too much juice on Do Bronx because he still does get hit every once in a while in these fights. Michael Chandler, he is dangerous for the first little while. Still has big power, even coming off a just stupid long layoff where he's a moron and waited for a man that is never going to fight again. So it's a bit scary, but if Do Bronx is on point and he's sharp as he should be, I think this is his fight to lose. I don't know. Chandler had some kind of excuses for the last fight when he got smoked by Do Bronx. Everybody always has some stuff going on, whether it's physically or mentally. So I think Do Bronx is going to do it again. It's probably going to be striking again because Chandler is a good grappler early anyway. So I think Do Bronx is going to be showing his sharp striking again, fighting at length, and he just has to watch the bull rush that's kind of what Chandler has these days. So I'm betting the under 2.5 in a parlay. It's like minus 260. I think Do Bronx kind of disposes this guy, but it kind of gives me a little bit of protection if somehow, some way, Chandler pulls something out of his ass.
Yeah. And like he was very close to it in the first fight. And we had said for the longest time that was the matchup we were concerned about the most for Do Bronx, just because he had land something real big early. Did it, still didn't manage to get Do Bronx out of there. And then obviously the fight turned immediately at the start of the second round. So I think that it's kind of the same, except without the big Chandler bonk at the start. I think Do Bronx has had a ton of high-level experience since that fight, and Chandler's fought, what, like twice?
And got pretty beat up in those fights.
Like, even in the Ferguson fight.
Yep. Yeah, he was losing to Ferguson.
Yeah. That was people kind of forget that because of how it ended, but
punt, yes,
he was not looking good in that fight. So I like Do Bronx here. I'm probably looking at him by TKO if I'm playing this straight. What's the under 2.5? Just like a little bit more expensive than his money line. I think that's probably a good call by Shaun for that little bit of extra coverage. So yeah, if you're looking for a parlay piece, that under 2.5 is probably a good option. But I think I'm just gonna go TKO. Normally Do Bronx is the guy that's gonna hop on a sub after he rocks somebody. But I think he enjoyed knocking Chandler out the first time, and he's gonna have a repeat performance. So I think I saw a plus 250 out there, which is probably about as good as you're going to find for that one.
Yep.
Main event. I guess it's kind of the UFC heavyweight. Like, nobody actually considers Jon Jones the UFC heavyweight champion right now, really. Especially considering the fact that he's outright refusing to fight Aspinall. But still, he is one of the greatest all time. Stipe is one of the goodest of all time. He's like up there, but not an all-time great. Sure, it's a fight that nobody asked for, and we had to wait like 4 years for anyway. Yeah, this isn't a thrilling one for me, Shaun.
It's a waste. And like, we're guys that, we know what Jon Jones is and what his career has been. And it's just very annoying what is happening with, booking this fight in the first place, and then Bones pulling out and waiting and having to wait another year for it to happen. And then he's just straight, whether it's, trying to push for more money or whatever, but him just straight ducking Aspinall or saying he's going to duck Aspinall is very annoying. We kind of had high hopes for Jon Jones at heavyweight. We thought it was going to be a pretty cool thing for him to move up and just destroy these shittier guys. And then he took like fucking 3 years to put on weight and wait for Ngannou to get the fuck out of the UFC. And then smoke's gone. Fair enough. And then this bullshit with Stipe, and then he's talking like this is probably the last one. So seems like kind of a waste of everybody's time. It was going to be something, amazing, and it turned out to be what we should expect from Jon Jones with his stupidity in his career. Obviously, mostly outside of the cage, but a little bit inside. As for the fight, I think Jones is going to win Stipe looks like he needs a cane. He got absolutely demolished by the Hog. He's already kind of old. I know it doesn't matter as much at heavyweight, but he's taken a lot of damage in his career. Listen to the way he talks; it's not good. I think John Jones is gonna show that this was a complete waste of time. I do think he's gonna take a little bit of time, just because I don't think Stipe can still kind of defensively, he can defensive grapple. John Jones is not really a one hitter quitter, never has been. So I don't think he's just going to absolutely flatline Stipe. I think it's just going to be an accumulation, wear him down, wear the old man down, and eventually get a finish probably in the third round or so. Myself, like the Jones and over 1.5, that's -110. I think that's a pretty decent price. Because Jones has never really been just a guy that smokes guys. I know he did against Gon, but Gon's an absolute baby on the ground. So Stipe is not that. So I think this goes some rounds.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that Jones is just going to rush in and wrestle like he did against Gon, because I think there's a lot less to fear on the feet against Stipe, and it's probably going to turn into the late John Jones light heavyweight performances that we all hated, where he's just like poking at a dude, and just doing enough. So I like the over 2.5 here. So that one's plus money. You can get 115 or better is pretty widely available. And I think I might take a little shot on Jones by decision. There's plus 450s out there, and I would absolutely not be shocked if John Jones puts in a stinker hold on to the belt performance, because that is absolutely the type of dude that he is at this point.
Yeah,
I have high hopes. High hopes, Shaun.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. That's it. That's all. We done. Got out of it in under an hour. What we had to give and what it deserves.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't know if we'll be back next week. That is a UFC China card where,
honestly, I am more looking forward to that main event happening at like 10 a.m.
100%.
I'm just going to wake up on Saturday morning, get to watch an awesome fight.
Yeah.
And yeah, instead of staying up until like 2:00 for John Jones trying to stab Stipe's kneecaps.
That is fair. That is fair. It's a boxing card. It's a one fight card, and that one fight is awesome. So I don't know if we'll talk about it. We might just talk about the main card, because nobody knows who else is fighting on this card on the prelims. So don't really want to just waste everybody's time. Looks like your dog has had enough, and he wants some loving from you. So we should get the hell out of here.
Very quickly, Paul Tyson.
Put money on Jake Paul, and then be happy if he gets knocked the fuck out.
I said Paul decision, because I'm just garbage fights. We'll see you next week. Maybe.